Welcome to r/Entitled Parents, where we share stories of moms or dads who think that just because they have kids, they're entitled to everything. And their kids, who are spoiled rotten. Today's story is, Entitled Mom Loses Her Mind Over Son Pulling Down Girl's Skirt. So, I have a fun story, and my friend begged me to post it on Entitled Parents. So here I am. It's also really freaking long, sorry about that. I worked at a daycare for a little less than a year. It was a huge daycare in a pretty large city, and we got all different kinds of families. Our daycare was reasonably priced, especially for how highly rated it was, and was known for how closely it works with schools in the area, uses modern disciplinary tactics, and for working closely with child protective services, and was responsible for saving countless children who were in bad homes. It had programs for new parents and even helped people trying to adopt, and worked with Planned Parenthood as well. And it also had amazingly good pay compared to other daycares in the area. We were legit as fuck. You can imagine the kinds of parents I've met, from neglectful to overprotective, but for the most part, parents were amazing and respected how difficult taking care of 15+ toddlers, my department, could get. It was our first day back from our Christmas break, and after break is typically when more kids get enrolled, and my class went from 12 children to 16 children, which is fine because each class is required to have 2 or more carers in each classroom. I worked in the ocean-themed room, by the way. We called ourselves the Mer People. It was the best room in the building, and we had a rivalry with the rainforest room. I'm not at all biased. Anyway, I was setting up a movie on the TV when a young boy stood next to me watching what I was doing. Me. Hey, are you new? I knew this, I just wanted to make conversation. From now on, we'll call him Billy. Billy nods his head. I smiled at him and assumed he was shy of new people, and went back to get the movie to play. As soon as the movie began to play, and I went to go back to my desk, I hear a girl scream at the top of her lungs. Not new, but still startling to hear a child scream. I quickly turned, hoping nothing was wrong, and was shocked at what I was seeing. Billy had pulled down a girl's skirt. Thankfully, she had leggings on under the skirt, and so she wasn't exposed. It's still very inappropriate and startling. I look at my coworker horrified and grab the boy away from the girl. I calmly walked him into the hallway and sat him on the timeout chair. Me. Billy, why did you pull down that girl's skirt? I actually said the girl's name, but it doesn't matter. Remember, I work with toddlers mainly, that's 2 to 4 years old. So getting this boy to talk would be like trying to get Ted Bundy to confess to murder. It wasn't gonna happen. I was so frustrated and wanted him to talk, but he just sat with his arms crossed and a red face. Me. Okay, Billy, pulling down that girl's skirt was extremely inappropriate, and you should not have done that. You're going to have to sit here for 5 minutes. I expect an apology when that time is up. If you don't apologize, you'll have to sit for 5 more minutes. So I set a timer on my phone. We are required to wait in the hall with them, so I stood a few feet away and played on my phone. The policy is that we have to stand a minimum of 3 feet away and make no sound, so they can sit and think about what they've done. After about 45 seconds, he randomly starts crying and screaming. Billy, I'm sorry, I want to play, I'm so sorry. I was confused as the boy ran to me and began to hit me in the stomach. I put my phone in my pocket and grabbed his hands, stopping him. Me, no hitting. Billy, let me play game! Let me play game! Like a lot of boys his age, he was underdeveloped in his words, but knew enough. Billy then snatched my phone from my back pocket and began to run away with it. I understood what set him off now. I was quick to grab the phone back and was just about fuming with anger. I work with children for a living. I'm now in school to be a CPS worker. I have to be patient, and if I yelled at him, I would get fired. I placed my phone in my pocket again and put the boy on the seat. Me. Do not move. As I said, I was pretty damn pissed. I opened the door and waved my coworker down. We stood in the open doorway so we had access to all the children, and I told her what happened. Assault and theft. And told her to call our boss. She opened the daycare in the early 2000s and has built it up to what it is. My coworker agreed imminently, and I waited in the hall with the boy again, who was repeatedly trying to get off the chair and was screaming and crying, so much to the point a carer from a neighboring class came out to see if everything was okay. I was kind of embarrassed. I didn't want to be dealing with this and was just praying for my boss to show up. Soon enough, I heard the click of her heels and felt a wave of relief fall over me. Boss, hey, how can I help you? I quickly explained everything that happened, and from the moment she heard about Billy pulling down the girl's skirt, she was hooked. She thanked me for my time and patience with this child and told me she was proud of me for keeping my cool. I was significantly younger than all of my other coworkers, and at this point I had only been working at the daycare for a few weeks. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this was my first time ever having to execute serious discipline on a child, other than a warning or a stern talking to. It was my first time using the timeout chair in the hallway. I'm honestly surprised I didn't quit after this, because current me would have quit after Billy pulled down the girl's skirt, because, oh boy. At pickup time, I was standing outside walking kids to their parents, when I felt a tap on my shoulder. My boss stood there with a look on her face I had never seen before or after this day. My boss was a cheerful woman who can keep her cool under any situation ever. This woman could debate with any idiot on the planet and keep her calm, including anti-vaxxers. Like, this woman's a goddamn saint. Boss, I need to speak with you about the events that happened with Billy today. I was scared of what I would walk into when we approached her office. The door opened, and I was thrown into the lion's den. Entitled parent. How dare you accuse my child of these blatant lies? This woman is a good inch from my face. On her breath, I can smell tobacco and cheese. I wanted to kill myself right then and there. I knew how this was going to go. Boss, please refrain from shouting at my employees. Take a seat. The three of us sat down, and in the corner of the room there was a woman typing down a transcript of the meeting. A policy of my boss's that I love. Such a good idea, especially because children are involved. I was shaking and sweating, I was so nervous. This woman's presence made me feel like jello. I wasn't exactly afraid of her, it was more or less my instincts were kicking in, telling me I was in danger and needed to run. My stomach was hurting and I could feel a migraine coming on from all the stress and anxiety. Boss, can you please tell me the reasons why you felt the need to take disciplinary measures on Billy? I then rattled off the offenses the child did, and when I finished, the EP was staring at me with a confused look on her face. EP, are you accusing my 3-year-old of sexual assault? Me, no. EP, then why are you saying he pulled down a girl's skirt? She was standing and leaning into my face again. Boss, sit down. Me, I am not saying he pulled down her skirt, because he did. I know there was no sexual nature behind it, he's 3 years old, but what he did is inappropriate. He violated her space and touched someone without permission. EP, so you're telling me that children need to consent to be touched? At this point, I was staring at my boss with a look of pure terror. This mother, I was flabbergasted at her logic, or lack thereof. What the f***? I genuinely was struck with confusion and was speechless. Boss, so if the girl had pulled down your son's pants, you would be okay with it? EP, what? Absolutely not! That is not okay! Me, then what makes it okay for your son to do it to her? EP was backed into a corner. She just screwed herself. EP, why was that little girl wearing a skirt anyway? He was probably just curious as to what was under it. Don't get me wrong, I understand that kids do weird shit and are curious enough to do something like this, but this parent's behavior is insanely ridiculous. Me, that doesn't make what he did okay. I had to teach him that what he did was wrong. I wanted so badly to add, because you clearly have not. EP, my son has never done anything wrong before. He is such a good boy. Now this is some bullshit. This is a 3-year-old child, and any adult knows that 3-year-olds are f***ing awful and amazing at the same time. But they are naughty and break rules, which is okay because that's part of learning. No wonder the boy behaved the way he did when I disciplined him. He had never been disciplined a day before in his f***ing life. I feel so bad for him. Because of his mother, he will never learn the difference between right and wrong. It's so awful. Boss, at home, when your son breaks a rule, what do you do? EP, he says sorry, and then he gets a reward for apologizing. My boss about f***ing lost it. Yes, you should have your child apologize for breaking a rule, but there is so much more than that. Good God. Boss, well, we met on Wednesday. You agreed to our disciplinary methods. If you no longer agree, you'll have to take your child to another daycare. I can tell that my boss just wants to make her leave as much as I do. EP, no, no, no! I'm not even kidding. She shouted no 3 times with like a 2-second pause between each no. My son needs to stay at this daycare. It's the best daycare in town and is in my budget. I roll my eyes at her. Thankfully, she didn't see. I am done with this woman. She is so dumb. I would say that she's anti-vaxxer, but it was required your children be vaccinated to go to our daycare, and you have to provide evidence, thank God. Boss, I don't see what your issue is, ma'am. You want your child to go to our daycare, but you do not agree to something in our terms and service. That's not how it works. You signed your name, and we both have a copy of the contract. EP, but my son did nothing wrong. She keeps going from talking in a small voice to screaming at the top of her lungs. It was startling every time, and my anxiety was through the roof. I wanted to leave, but I had not been dismissed yet. Me, Yes, he did. He did multiple things wrong. He pulled down a girl's skirt, shouted at me, refused discipline, hit me, and stole my cell phone from my pocket because he wanted to play on it. EP. Well, did you? Me. What? EP. Did you let him play on your phone? Me. No. EP. Why not? Me. Because A, he was being punished, and B, he had stolen it from me. She cuts me off. EP. Well, if you had just let him play on it in the first place, he wouldn't have done anything wrong. Oh, I see. I f***ing see. She just sticks him in front of the screen and leaves him to fend for himself because she doesn't want to deal with him. My soul was about to leave my body. I was so pissed. Me. It's against the rules for us to let the children have our phones, and there were plenty of activities for him to do in the classroom, from TV to toys to iPads, but he chose to pull down a girl's skirt instead. EP. Well, did the girl do something to him to make him want to get back at her? Me. Get back at her? I'll be honest. I lost my cool. Me. That is no way to raise a child. Justice is served by the justice system. In this case, that would have been me and the other care in the room. If that little girl had done anything to him, he should have said something to an adult so it could be handled properly. He's not to take it into his own hands, and even so, what he did is not at all justice. In adult life, that would be sexual assault, and I'm sure that little girl's mother isn't going to be too happy to hear about this, because by law, we have to report the incident to her. Your son did something wrong, and you need to accept that. After I said this to EP, she began to cry and shout profanities, calling me every name in the book, and clearly noticed the lesbian flag pin on my shirt because she also called me various homophobic slurs. I was asked by my boss to just head on home. Apparently, the little girl's mother was reporting the incident to the police. I think it was out of concern for Billy and that she wanted his home life to be investigated by CPS, which is pretty reasonable in my opinion. The next day, Billy was gone, and the girl was there, in good spirits, and clearly not affected by what Billy had done. I had given her an ice cream sandwich from the break room freezer because she deserved it. My boss also did not ever scold me for how I spoke to that EP and never brought up what happened ever again. I would go on to work at the daycare for many more months and have many more EP experiences. And one day, I might just share those too. I hope you enjoyed reading this, and I'm sorry there wasn't more of a conclusion. Life is just like that sometimes. Have a wonderful day. Remember, having children is a choice. And if you choose to have children, research how to raise them first. Too long didn't read. Entitled kid pulls down girl's skirt at daycare and his entitled mother tries to defend his actions.